What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. Even though everybody loves to take the piss, I only usually do one Korean video per patch, and I've saved up some off-meta stuff that's not normal but actually really strong, and these are all from like either high diamond, master tier, or challenger. Now before we start this, I want to introduce you guys to Haste. So you know whenever I accept a new sponsor, it has to be relevant and useful to you, otherwise I'm not going to do it. Haste is free right now in beta. They can basically improve your connection to the league servers, actually also to Overwatch as well, through their own dedicated connection. So in most cases it's going to stop lag, random ping spikes, packet loss, literally just by having it on. This is for the NA server right now. Even though I'm from the UK, my ping was about 140 playing on NA, but with Haste I'm down to 100 already. It's in free beta, go and try it. It's super simple. It can stop lag spikes and play on lower ping as well, so you get better reactions. Let's also give away $25 of RP as a thank you for understanding. Leave a comment, whatever it is. You hate me, I don't mind. Like the video if you do, and I'll pick one randomly. So the first one is Veigar tank support with Courage of the Colossus or Thunderlords, and this guy has 700 games of Veigar at Diamond 1 just this season alone. He plays Exhaust as you probably expect, but he actually starts with a coin if he's going Courage, or Spell Thieves if he's going Thunderlords. He has two very different playstyles depending on who he faces. So why would you even want to do this though? The passive is the first thing. It's very different now. Like, you gain stacks in AP just from hitting an enemy champion with an ability. You don't have to CS with it anymore. Like, your Q does give stacks, but so does your passive. Your stun is 1.5 seconds, rank 1, and it's AoE, which is amazing. You can use this aggressively to stun both the AD and support. Use them to just cage them in so they can't run. They have to blow flashes even if you don't hit it. You can use it defensively to basically 100% stop ganks. Like, a jungler would have to run around it, which just isn't going to happen. There are lots of ways to use this to be really good in my opinion. You don't have to stun them to keep them in place either. Your ultimate also deals 1.5% increased damage for every 1% of their missing health, so you don't need a ton of AP for that to do damage. The AP scalings are nuts though, but so are the base damage, so your actual stacking with your passive really is going to pay off. Now this guy maxes his Q, so that's about 230 base damage rank 5, which is not that bad at all to spam. Late game you're going to have 2.5 seconds stun AoE in a team fight. Your W actually does a ton of damage as well, 300 base damage plus 100% of your AP, which is AoE and hard to dodge in fights. Your ultimate is like 325 base, 75% AP, and execute damage as well. Like, you're packed with so much natural damage. Basically we have a tank now with heals and shields with his build, and has a massive big AoE stun as well. Lots of damage, which keeps increasing over the course of the game. It's pretty nuts. So if you're going to build him tank with Courage of the Colossus, then the build is Coin, Sightstone, Talisman, Redemption, Locket, Liandry's, and Void Staff. So this is actually like a supporty support. Like, you have Redemption and Locket to help your team, and then some damage later, some penetration. So the masteries are pretty standard, 12, 0, 18 for Courage, and the runes are a bit different. So reds are going to be armor, yellow's HP per level, blue's magic resist, and quint's movement speed. This is really focused around actually being an annoying little turd running around stunning people and actually scaling into the game. The damage build is when he's against more passive support, so especially against Thresh actually, who can't really punish him, he normally takes Thunderlords and goes a bit more damage. It's the Frost Fang upgrade first of all, Sork Boots, then Sightstone, Frost Queens, Redemption, Locket, Liandry's, and Void Staff. The masteries will be 12, 18 Thunderlords with full Magic Pen runes actually. The only runes he does not get for Magic Pen are going to be his mana regen yellows. This is a super ham setup. Basically you're relying on the stacking for your AP and your items and runes for the penetration to really make that AP hurt late game. So Malphite at the moment is one of those tanks who just doesn't really tank as hard as Maokai and Nautilus, right? He can be ignored if you flash his ult and then he becomes useless. This guy has a much different idea though. He takes Ignite for kill lanes or TP otherwise, Thunderlords, cooldown reduction boots, and builds a Triforce as his first item every single game. He's played 200 games in Diamond with this and has over a 3 KDA, which is pretty good actually. It has everything that's great about Malphite but tweaked for Season 7 and the new meta we have. The first thing is, this is not brand new, right? We haven't seen this for a long time though, and this is the first time I think really since the rework of Triforce anyway. So if we look at Maokai and Nautilus, right, these are the two top tier tanks anyway. They're tanky, they have a shield or a heal or damage reduction, multiple crowd control, and impossible to dodge engage. Malphite though has a crap shield really, one crowd control, and you can dodge it. So we're turning this basically into a damage bruiser off tank rather than just a meat shield, because he's not as good at that anymore. The Sheen procs actually do a crap ton of damage with this, which adds on to our consistent DPS after our ultimate. The cooldown reduction means more Q and E spam, especially with our lucidity boots afterwards, giving another 10%, so that's 30% already. It actually makes you really deadly in the lane phase though. Like, you have Q spam, which really actually hurts your ultimate and Sheen damage to burst them down afterwards. In lane you also have that attack speed slow to not take as much damage. You have your passive shield as well, so you don't necessarily need to get tanky straight away. He does of course go tank afterwards though, so he's still able to dive into fights and absorb a lot of damage. You're just adding to the damage early. I think it's also like Malphite with a lead is actually really good. You can engage and you can snowball a bit harder, you can pick your fights and dive in. Also, you have those tanky items earlier, which means they often don't have an answer to you or damage to burn you down once you've dove in either. A lot of his problems come from when he's behind, so this is where spanking the opponent in lane really comes in. This is what the Triforce is for, a lot of early damage to actually win 1v1. Build wise, you are getting your Triforce, but the order would be Sheen, Stinger, and then Phage. You really want the damage first to fight early. Trinity Force, Sunfire, Visage, Thornmail, Guardian Angel. It's a typical tank build afterwards, and boots normally Lucidity, but they can be Ninja Tabby against full AD or if you're a bit behind. Also, as I said earlier, you want Ignite for AP matchups, especially that are easier or just in general, and TP otherwise. The runes are super weird though for this guy at least. Like the reds, 1% crit rune and 8 mixed pen, so the lethality and magic pen. The yellows are health per level, and the blues are 5 armor and 4 magic resist. The quints 2 attack speed and 1 armor. So a little bit all over the place, but it kind of just fills in the holes and gives you a lot of actually what you want early game at least, especially with the pen. Mastery is 12, 18 Thunderlords, which are pretty standard and you can see on screen. Now this one is actually pretty cool. It was in the LCK, which is the Korean LCS basically, and this is like a challenger level pocket pick for support. It's a good reaction to the support meta and also lethality, but in certain situations it's actually so good. Kayle support is one of those picks that you think is proper troll and rubbish, but actually makes a lot of sense for some games. So the lane phase is not the strongest thing ever, but Wraith, the main guy who is doing this at the moment, maxes his heal first and runs wind speakers, so at least he can heal up his AD. It's actually like a 240 heal rank 5 as well, so it's not that bad honestly. Kayle's passive is really underrated as well though. 15% reduction in enemies champions armor and magic resist for 5 seconds. It's actually 3% per stack up to 5 times, but late game that's pretty decent. Her Q is decent damage up to a 55% slow for 3 seconds. Like imagine that in a team fight, right? You dive onto her AD carry and you're slowed for 3 seconds so they can just kite you even easier. We've already said she has a good heal, speed up, range form to do some decent damage, but of course her ultimate, right? Immune to damage for 3 seconds. Yes, please. Overall, she has a heal, armor and magic resist reduction, slow, immunity for 3 seconds. I would not mind having those things to play with as an AD carry in a team fight. It's also a reaction to the assassin meta though. Her ultimate is an amazing counter to any sort of assassination attempt. Kha'Zix, Rengar, Talon, Zed, all of these guys have the same style where they have big cooldowns and jump in. In general, they pick a careful time to go in, they use everything, they one-shot someone, and then they get out again. Like Kayle legit just hard counters it, makes them waste their cooldowns, keeps the person alive, and suddenly the assassin is either dead or has nothing left to do damage with. It's not all good though, like it really sucks in the lane phase if you aren't careful. You're not that super aggressive, you're kind of like a Janna, I guess. You can do some stuff like in the early few levels, but after those, I don't really think you add as much as like a Zyra or something. So the build is Spell Thief, Sightstone, Lucidity Boost, and Eye of the Watchers. Redemption afterwards, Ardent Sensor, Locket, things like those. Ardent Sensor is actually really good on you at the moment with how the item is anyway. Mastery is 12, 18 Wind Speakers. You have some aggressive masteries just because you do some decent damage early levels and later into the game naturally with your E and your Q. For runes, in your reds will be running Mixed Pen. Again, yellows, armor, blues, magic resist or mana regen. Like it's a Korean thing. You can just be magic resist. They love their mana regen though. And for quints, we go attack speed. So a pretty standard rune page actually. The last one for this is kind of a 3-in-1. So it's not like brand new picks, but not exactly normal either, but really successful. So we have a Camille support in here, jungle as a damage burst champion, and also jungle with a Cinderhulk. Camille jungle is really not that common at the moment at all, even though it is really good and has disgusting ganks. But the reason I'm showing you these is because they both have like 100 games played on Camille and 65% win rates and high diamond. That's really good at the moment. Camille's base damage is very high anyway, but it's also the synergy with Triforce, Fervor, Thunderlords. They all work really well actually. The real question is why would you bother jungling her though, right? Your ganks are amazing with the long range stun. That's a really big thing. And also your ultimate to lock them in place. You get relatively tanky, you have good farming, and you scale with items super well. So it actually makes a lot of sense, but I mean, she is broken right now anyway. So the first guy is the tank Camille jungle player. I say tank, what I mean is like a Rek'Sai. The build is Tiamat Rush into Red Smite, then Sheen, then Triforce, then Cinderhulk, and Titanic Hydra. It's like a bruiser build and stuff like GA or Deadman's afterwards. It's a bit more reliable of a build, I think. It's kind of like a Hecarim actually. Tanky, but still do damage enough to carry. One of the biggest differences though is Fervor. So it's 18-0-12, that's what he runs. Relying less on the burst damage, but a slow ramp up with your auto attacks. For runes, it will be attack speed reds, armor yellows, magic resistant cooldown blues, and AD quints. Now the other Camille jungle player is more of a hard carry playstyle. Bit more risky, but obviously you do more damage and definitely more burst anyway. The build is warrior into Triforce and then bruiser afterwards, so like Guardian Angel and Deadbands and stuff like that. Masteries, it is with Thunderlord, so 12-18 this time, and it's more damage up front when you dive in. You're trying to burst people rather than auto and ramp up like the other one. Runes, AD, armor, magic resist, and AD, so more burst focused again. It's just a different playstyle really. It depends on what you'd prefer, honestly. It's kind of like Vi, actually. Warrior and Triforce is a ton of burst damage, but it's a little bit squishier early into the game, though you can carry a bit harder. Synhulk, Triforce, and stuff like that is more sustained damage, especially with Fervor. So you dive in, you won't one-shot people, but eventually you'll kill everybody. Both of them can carry, but it prefers what you want to your role to be in the game. Now anyway, this guy also plays Camille support when he doesn't jungle. This was also in the LCS as well, actually. I call it support. He gets a sight stone at least, but he takes Ignite. He builds Triforce first item, so I don't even know if you can really call it a support Camille. She's definitely doing a lot of damage though. Like the Q does a lot. You have your stun, Grasp of the Undying for a bit of sustaining damage, and Sheen is always going to do a lot. Honestly, the big thing is a stun though. You can go really aggressive in this lane. You dive in, you ultimate to hold them in place. It's an amazing setup for the rest of your team to follow up on. You throw in that Triforce and you'll be able to 1v1 the enemy AD like a Zyra or Malzahar. It's basically just an AD version of one of those two. It's literally as simple as that. Build is like Targon, Sightstone, Triforce, Face of the Mountain, Locket, Deadmans. It's just kind of tanky towards the end. Mastery is 0, 12, 18 with Grasp. You could probably run Courage. You could probably run Thunderlords as well, but runes, AD, armor, magic resist, and AD. Hope you guys enjoyed this video looking at these 4 picks. They're basically mini guides really on the champions if you want to play them and see how you get on. I just stuck these 4 together instead of making like shorter videos on each. So thanks for watching though. Remember to try out Haste and see if it works for you, but for now let's go to the robots.